everybody. How are you? Thank you for watching. We're here for another mock draft. We're brought to you by AG1. I'll tell you a little more about AG1 once we're into this draft. With me today is my good friend and international rock star, Rhett Miller. How are you, Rhett?
I'm excellent. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me. I'm a true child of the pod, the possum. I'm one of us, one of the weirdos that listens every episode.
I know you are because you've recorded. I put it this way: you're the only professional musician that well, that's not true, actually. You're the only like internationally famous and successful. Sorry, other musician who's submitted like multiple mixtapes to my stupid show. I'm humbled, and it's so wonderful that you've done it. But like, I'm also embarrassed because I'm a freaking idiot.
Well, you know what's funny is I did one the last year before you took the time off from the Almanac. I did one for the Harris Almanac, and I adapted the Kinks song Autumn Almanac, which to me is like one of the classics of the canon, right?
Yes.
And so I'm like, yes, 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 it's the Harris Almanac. And it's like so catchy. And you're like, who's that by? I was like, oh my God. You can take the boy out of Massachusetts.
That is absolutely fair. Cluelessness is what I do. Hey man, it's an empire. I've built an empire on my cluelessness. So we're here to do a mock draft. We're going to do a 12-teamer, and it's going to be standard scoring, and Rhett is picking 8th. And it was a very specific request from Mr. Miller that he wanted a standard league, and he wanted to pick 8th. Do you care to reveal to us the reason behind this?
Okay, I'm in 3 leagues. I wish I was in 1 league, but because of you and Rainn Wilson, I'm in 3 leagues. I've actually been able to win or co-champion the 2 leagues that I don't care about at all. No offense, Rainn or Large, but my home league, my home league, of which I've been commissioner for well over a decade, I've never even sniffed the championship. Oh. For one thing, it's a 10-team league, and as you've pointed out to me over all these years, 10-team is starball. It's all just garbage. Who knows? Whoever gets lucky wins it, right? Also, so this year I've added teams, so we're a 12-team league for the first time ever this year. Last year I got rid of kickers. You would have thought I took these guys' binkies away from them. So we're a 12-team league with no kickers. I'm picking 8th in my home league. And honestly, I wasn't excited about it, but I think 8th could be good. I think one of the top guys might fall to me. The question I really wanted to ask you, if it's all right before we start, I'm old school in that I don't know how to do. Okay, I started using magazines that you were probably writing the player profiles for. Actually, that's not even true. I started in 1993 using USA Today pullouts, when you would have to like put an envelope with your lineup in it by Saturday evening in the commissioner's mail slot. But so I've always printed out my whatever ranks I use, and now part of the problem with being in 2 different leagues with you is I used your ranks. The problem for both of us. And so I print out my top 160, and then I print out like the RB ranks, and then I go through and I make little notes, like maybe I'll put a star next to flag player, that kind of stuff. My question is this: if I'm not doing this, and as the draft goes, I'm not crossing out people that have been picked and looking ahead, like you never do that. Do you use a draft sheet that automatically eliminates the picks so that you can see what's happening, or are you so smart?
Do you mean in these mocks?
In your real drafts that you care about? Yes.
I don't have any paper because I'm not 100. Yeah, I'm not 100. And I usually I would say there, like the league that you and I and Rainn and Al last week's mock drafter, who was great, that we're all in.
Was he? He called Dallas Cowboy fans garbage people, specifically naming me specifically as a garbage person.
Fair point. For that one, since it's an auction, I don't really do anything. For large, I have an Excel spreadsheet, but what it mostly is I already have my ranks professionally in an Excel spreadsheet to put them online when I make changes and stuff. So it's pretty easy for me to just like copy paste. And I do start taking them. I just like hit delete. I just like, I don't have to cross. I just go to their I find them in the list and I just hit delete.
I could probably do that. Okay, that also leads to the other question that I wanted to ask you before we start.
Yeah.
I have an auction league draft coming up, an auction. And I'm just wondering, can you just do at some point, you don't have to do it right now, at some point on the show or somewhere, can you address some strategies? Because I notice you're very good at it and you tend to wait until everybody's blown all their dough. I would love.
Well, I think you just learned my only secret. You got it, Rhett. Al got it last week too. Everybody's on to me.
Damn it. All right.
No, I will. I think there's an auction strategy. It may be after our auction though, but there is an auction strategy show coming. I don't remember when. It'll be part of a show. I do it every year right before Labor Day weekend. But it may be actually the day of our show. I can't remember, to be honest. But I'll squeeze some auction talk on there. I promise.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And it's mostly going to be, hey, Rhett, you should probably not spend all your money at first.
Seriously, for real.
All right, so we're going to do this. We appreciate everybody who is still watching for some reason. And we're going to be picking against 10 bots, of course. I'm picking 5th. Rhett is picking 8th. This is standard league. We're not picking kickers. We're not picking defenses. We're going to go how many rounds? 14 rounds.
Okay.
And then, we'll talk about what we're thinking and why we picked who we picked. And Dave Piper, of course, is producing and laughing in our ear as we're being goofy. So Dave, you're welcome to give us a start as we get rolling here. So here we go. We get McCaffrey, we get Tyreek, we get Lamb, we get Bijan. And as seems to happen, now listen, I would have picked later in the draft and let you had the person that I want here, but like you wanted to pick 8th. So it does seem like in these mock drafts, I'm getting Breece Hall an awful lot. My first 3 in standard, my first 3 in PPR are McCaffrey, Bijan, and then Hall. So I'm going to take Breece Hall here. See who falls to you. So 2 more receivers go off. Ooh, and you ain't Garrett Wilson. Fast. Was that intentional? Was that an intentional pick?
No. Oh my God. No. Hell no. I would not.
We're gonna undo it. That was a bit of a technical snafu. So Dave is quite literally about to go backwards and undo these picks and get to your first pick.
I was going over to add a player to be named to my draft queue.
Right. It'll be fine. I think it's just the first time around it went goofy, so no worries at all. And we get the drama of seeing.
My auto pick is turned off. That's weird.
That's good.
Didn't.
It paused for your second pick, so I'm not worried about it at all.
Okay.
So there you go. Saquon Barkley. Is that who you wanted?
That is who I wanted.
Do you want to talk about before we get to your second pick, which you have to worry about the timing of?
Yes, because like if I know I don't want to think positionally, but I don't want to get out of the top 8 without a running back I feel really good about. I don't think I meant to pull up ADP. That's the other thing. I'll often print out or pull up on my iPad a list of ADP so I can look and see generally what people are looking at. And then also we've got the queue that everybody sees, which is super useful to know what everybody sees.
Right.
So I don't think Saquon's going to get around to me with the 16th.
I don't either, especially not in a standard scoring league with no points per reception. I think you're right.
Yeah. So I wanted him. I didn't want Jahmyr Gibbs. I wouldn't have minded if Etienne had come around to me on the second pick, but I'm going to take obviously a wide receiver. Well, not obviously, but that's okay. So this is what we're looking at now. Oof.
Well, while you think there's no pressure, while you think I'll say that in that spot, I'm probably also taking Barkley. Maybe not a coincidence considering we share some ranks and some brains on these things, but it certainly, even in a no PPR in a standard scoring league, it's absolutely defensible to go Amon-Ra there, to go AJ Brown there. That's kind of it for me. I don't have any other receivers I'd would take in the first round. And I'm with you, especially with the hamstring. As much as the Lions want to downplay the Jahmyr Gibbs hamstring, I'm with you that that would not really have been a consideration for me either. I'd probably be more likely to go Taylor, to be honest. But do you have a second pick in mind?
Oh yeah, we have Taylor there too. It's funny now that I'm looking at the wide receivers, I feel like they got picked pretty clean here.
That's the way the drafts are going, though. It is, everybody watching knows it's true. Like drafts, the advice out there in the ether seems to be, you want hero running back, and then you want nothing but receivers. And I'm not going to adhere to that. I love to zig when the market zags. So we'll see. Well, can you make yourself take one of these receivers, or are you going to take another running back?
I feel like the better value is to take another running back. Then the question just becomes, I'm not going to take Kyron. Do I take Derrick Henry here, or do I reach for Josh Jacobs, who won't be around with my next pick? And I think I got to take Josh Jacobs. I'm playing your own game against you. What do you think?
It is my game. That's probably my pick there. So here goes Jacobs. And then Henry falls right after. So we're to my next pick, and we had one more receiver go as well. Obviously, I did go running back early. I think you're right. You're clearly a listener of the show, because I tend not to think positionally the first few rounds. So I want to take kind of like best available, but the best available on the board according to the default ranks are Kyron Williams. You and I are probably not going to do that. The best receiver available in the default is Drake London. I don't have him that high. He scares me a little bit. So I think my wide receiver one, it's kind of stinks that your wide receiver one doesn't feel like an actual wide receiver one, but I will take Devontae Adams. And now it's going to come around to me again. And before I do my next pick, we can talk about that pick in a second, Rhett, if you want to. But let me do the spot for AG1, because without them, we wouldn't be doing the show. If you were noticing down here in the right-hand corner of my screen, I have a bottle of AG1 and I have a travel pack. And I drink AG1 every day in the morning, and I use the gym just about every day. And the reason that I trust AG1, I mean, they are dedicated to the rigorous testing, and the ingredients are constantly changing and being improved. There's a probiotic as well as a prebiotic, and that helps with your going, as it were. You just erase the multivitamin. It's out of the equation. On an empty stomach, I drink this every morning. This is tomorrow's dose. This is tomorrow's drink. And I feel fantastic in the gym. I never bonk. If you go to drinkag1.com/Harris, you can get 5 of these free travel packs, a year's supply of vitamin D with your first subscription to AG1. I think, Rhett, are you a partaker in AG1?
Not only do I partake in it, but when I ordered it, I used Harris as my code.
I mean, come on. That's so great. So we do really appreciate AG1. They reached out. It's second straight year they're sponsoring these mock drafts. I really appreciate it. If you're interested at all, drinkag1.com/Harris. I trust them, and it's been about 3 years every day. And replace the multivitamin. I think they're great. So thank you very much to AG1 for sponsoring. So did you have a thought about Devontae and my second pick?
No, I like it. So when you make that pick, you're sort of taking into account the ADP situation, because he's not the highest player on your board, the highest wide receiver on your board. But
he was the highest receiver left on my board, but he wasn't the highest in the default ranks. I had a higher player in my non-receiver in my ranks that I'm going to take right now.
Oh, is Stephon Diggs gone?
Stephon Diggs is still available, but I have Adams ahead of Diggs, I think. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm wrong about my own ranks.
I printed out your ranks right before the thing on paper, because I hate trees and I want them to.
Right.
That's good. You had Diggs one spot ahead of Adams, but
I do. You're right. I do. I entered wrong into the thing. You know how I'm going to write that? You know how I'm going to fix that?
Change the ranks.
Nope. I'm just gonna take Stephon Diggs.
You you had already said you were gonna take you.
Let's just assume that Diggs and Adams. I mean, they're both close, and I am higher on the market than Diggs. The market is like crazily forgiving of Devontae Adams, and a kind of disappointing season, and him being 32, and just like hates Stephon Diggs so much, despite the fact that he's in an elite offense. So in the third round, I'm very happy to get him. What's your thought process now, other than wanting to MF me on YouTube?
I know. You said you were taking a running back. Otherwise, I wouldn't have reminded you of the outside receiver. So cheap. I'll go with Nico Collins.
The other receiver.
Yeah, we'll see.
Which is a good value. I mean, it's fine, right? This is where he goes. It's absolutely fine. And now I'll ask you. I mean, you're 3 picks in. This is your home league setup. You started with Barkley, Jacobs, Nico Collins.
I would have liked to get Diggs there rather than Nico Collins. And I think in my league, listen,
you might. Yeah.
You know, the only thing I didn't tell you about my league is that, and I don't think it really matters, but for some reason we've always had 6 points per TD pass. Now it doesn't change quarterbacks' relative value to each other, but for whatever reason, my league mates all think that they have to pick quarterbacks in the frickin' first round. So
Great for you.
Exactly. Thank you. So I probably would have gotten better values, but I'm really happy with Barkley and Jacobs. I'm excited. Who knows? But Nico Collins, I feel pretty good about. Earlier when we talked about the Cowboys momentarily, I'm not saying I'm out on the Cowboys. I grew up as a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm a 7th-generation Texan. My grandfather owned an NFL franchise called the Dallas Texans in 1952 that is now the Indianapolis Colts. It's in my blood. But Jerry Jones skeeves me out so hard. That Arizona photograph a couple of years ago was the beginning of a real problematic period now for me, wherein I'm sort of looking for alternate teams to enjoy. And I brought this up to my guitar player, Ken, in the old 97s the other day and told him, I really like Houston. I know everybody likes Houston, but I'm kind of on board. I kind of am a Texans fan now. And he wanted to fight me, but... He's really old, so
I mean, Al wasn't actually calling you a garbage person after all.
Well, I kind of am by birthright.
He didn't know that though. He didn't know you weren't a garbage person when they. Yeah, that's fair.
Look, he likes the 49ers, and that's such a bandwagon move.
Oh yeah. The two of you with the season tickets for 100 years between the two of you. All right. So what are you thinking in the 4th round?
Okay.
Do you feel pressure at this point to think receiver?
Yeah, I do. I hate to. I do. I hate to say it, but so right now I'm not really crazy about receivers. I mean, the little badass is still on the board, but his ADP might.
No, he went right before you actually.
Oh, there you go. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
No wonder I can't find him. So no, given that, I kind of feel like I might want to go back. OMG. I might be taking one Joe Mixon.
Go stacking up some Texans, a receiver and a running back, which is defensible.
Lately, I've been hearing, and it's not like taking 2 Bears wide receivers.
Fair. Score one for you.
In our league, we have a flex spot where I can start 3 running backs.
For sure.
And something old school about, I really like running backs. They're going to play. They're guaranteed a certain. Okay, it's paused. That's why I won't let me take it. But I do think I'll take Joe Mixon here. I could take James Cook. He's next up on the queue, but.
I mean, let me just also say, take Mixon. But let me just say that I don't think it's bad to have Collins and Mixon. Was it bad to have McCaffrey and Ayuk?
No. Yeah.
Ooh, we have to undo that, Dave. We didn't quite get Mixon picked in, but we'll quickly rewind. If we're pretty convinced, I never want to base completely based on projections of offenses, but I think the Texans offense is fairly foolproof. Okay, that wasn't it.
I think my time is up, so when you restart it, it doesn't give me. It's
right. It's okay.
Okay, I put him in my queue, so it should auto pick him now once you start it.
All right.
And action.
Joe Mixon. There we go. So there goes Metcalf. There goes James Cook.
In a 12-team league, getting Barkley, Jacobs, and Mixon, that feels pretty good.
Of course, there are people out there who tell you Jacobs was terrible last year, and late career running back team changers like Jacobs and Mixon are doomed to fail. It's going to be Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell all over again. Obviously, you know who you're talking to, so I do not agree with those people. But that's why the ADP is what it is, because there's a lot of people scooping crap on him. But yeah, I'm not going to be one of them. So let's see, where are we in this draft here?
You only have one running back.
I do have one running back. I think I'm going to take Ken Walker.
Yeah.
Who was very owned by me a lot last year and may be owned by me again this year. Now I'm a little pissed at Team 4, who was picking number 2 there because they took Kamara. I actually went with Walker because he tends to go way ahead of Kamara, and then I was thinking maybe I'd sneak Kamara on the way back. Didn't happen. Less of a heartbreaker in a standard league than any sort of PPR league with Kamara, but by the same token, he's lower on my list in a standard league. So this was about the right place for him as far as I was concerned. We had Lamar Jackson go. He was certainly close for me. I probably wouldn't have done Stroud here. Where am I now? Yeah, I'm going to take a flag player here. Take another running back. Got Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Which is about probably again. Ooh, I think we auto picked. Did we auto pick?
I don't know why that does that.
Yeah, it's weird, but that's
all right. When I put someone in my queue earlier, the auto pick anyway. So I feel like I definitely need to go wide receiver here. I'm not going to take Pickens if I can help
let's undo that one, right? Yep.
But we are pretty far down.
So the highest on the default ranks on this app
is Tank Dell, Amari
Cooper, George Pickens are the 3. And like for me, I wouldn't take Dell just because there is a limit to how invested you want to be in one offense, right? So that probably wouldn't be my pick. But
absolutely, and I do think that there's a level of safety with Amari Cooper. Just so, and I feel like at this point, with all of the reaching for running backs, maybe I want to go safety. I don't know if he's the highest on the list. I haven't been able to go through and cross out people with a pencil because I'm a caveman. DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Pittman, DK Metcalf, Drake London, Keenan Allen. These people are all gone.
No, Keenan Allen's not.
Oh, I like Keenan Allen. Okay, there we go.
Keenan Allen, there he is. Again, like you have a very Harris team here, no question. I would love this team. Yeah. And there will be people who watch it who who are Rhett Miller fans and not Chris Harris fans and are watching this because they want to see what you do. And they're going to be like, what the hell are you doing, man? Every single player you picked, I hate. And that's because, they're more with the market. Jacobs goes lower. Well, Jacobs's price has actually been coming up pretty steadily. Collins is fine. I think nobody's mad at Collins. If you'd taken Diggs, they'd be mad. They're mad at me for taking Diggs. But like Mixon, Allen, these are going, in drafts that other people are doing. We get Mixon in the 5th and Allen in the 6th. But I'm with you. Like I think their value because I think they should go higher than that.
Has Drake London been taken where?
Yeah, London's gone.
Oh, okay. I thought you. I don't like any of these. Is it? Oh, and George Kittle went one pick before me. That's who I would have gone for.
Okay. Yeah.
I think at that point, do I just bite the bullet and go with my favorite of whoever's left? I do like.
Yeah, if you think about it, right? You've got 2 receivers. Is this will your home league be 3 receivers starting or 2?
I'll go Christian Kirk. It'll be.
Yeah, he's a flag player.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a very Harris team. All my teams are though, because I don't have time to listen. I don't have time to listen to a bunch of freaking stupid podcasts. Just one.
Listen to my stupid podcast.
One stupid podcast.
So in this league, the home league that we're kind of emulating here, do you start 3 receivers and a flex or 2 receivers and a flex?
We start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. So the flex is always the third of each.
Right.
So
So you're basically already drafting for your bench. You as far as the receivers and running backs go. So there's no wrong answer, right? And I think what's nice about Kirk and frankly Allen is that you once again found like some relative safety where you just like, let's see how the seasons go. Does Keenan Allen weigh, 240 pounds and, he can't play? Okay, great. You got Christian Kirk. Doesn't matter. You're good. So I think it's pretty nice drafting. But then I would, considering I ranked him. Where am I? I would say, let's see. Who do I like here? The thought process here, I got 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers. This league we're playing in here, we need a third receiver as a starter. I think when I get to the 5th, 6th rounds, I definitely start thinking positions now, as long as it's close. I'm not reaching terribly. My highest rated, I believe, unless I misentered my information here, is Calvin Ridley. Do I love it? I don't love it. I think he's kind of a knucklehead, but good relative value. I am fine with him as a third receiver. I'm going to supplement with other receivers as well. And then now we're either firing for bench or we're firing for quarterback, tight end, and there are not going to be any tight ends I particularly care to take in these mocks. You've seen some of them, Rhett. Like I wind up just with with whoever at the end. I don't really buy the argument that gets made on my show by guests all the time, which is, wow, there's such an advantage in having one of the top, insert your number, 6, 5, 7 tight ends. And I just think everybody convinces themselves of that. And then the season starts and most of them do 60 catches for 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. So
now, 2 seasons ago, I won the first season of the Rainn Wilson League by bidding up and getting Travis Kelce, which is normally not something I would do. But oh my God, the positional advantage, it paid off. But it was an auction league, so you're able to target players. And is it different in an auction league like that?
The thing is, no. And the thing is, I know it felt like Kelce was giving you this massive, massive, unbelievable advantage, but the distance by which he outpaces the replacement level tight end in terms of pure raw fantasy point numbers just doesn't compare. Even that great year, he wasn't a top 20 VBD. That's what I'm describing as value-based drafting. He wasn't a top 20 VBD player. It felt amazing. And especially felt amazing because he went crazy at the end. And so you just like romped in the playoffs. You beat me. I was the 1 seed. I recall.
I remember. I was doing the old 97s were doing a private gig that night for Jerry Jones at the Star when you and I had our big playoff head-to-head thing. I felt so cheap, so dirty doing that.
Yeah, I don't really like hearing that. I got to admit. But now I have to live with that. That made it worse. It was already bad, right? But you made it worse. So who am I gonna take? I guess I'm just going to take best available. Let's, maybe not best available. I should probably keep firing at wide receiver. I feel pressure to keep firing at wide receiver. Let's take another flag player. Another one that if people are judging these things by ADP, they're going to go, what are you doing? Cortland Sutton doesn't need to go in the 7th round. And he probably doesn't, except I'm drafting with Rhett Miller, who probably was about to take him.
I was not.
And theoretically, position-wise, Ridley gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit, so let's back him up with Sutton.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now you're stacked 4 wide receivers and 3 running backs. I've got 3 and 3. I feel like I want to go QB here because I wouldn't have minded if Burrow had gotten to me instead of Christian Kirk. I might have taken him there, but it still seems high. Obviously, there's flag player Tua Tagovailoa, but his ADP is.
Yeah, you can wait on him. You don't have to worry about that. If you take him, you're taking him in the double-digit rounds probably.
I'm not crazy about Kyler Murray, but I do like Jordan Love. I've got his running back. Is that crazy to stack running back QB on a team?
I think most people now think that's kind of
savvy.
The way offenses are. There just isn't the level of concentration on a team. I don't know if it's necessarily savvy, but I don't think it's verboten the way it was 20 years ago when teams weren't as multifaceted, frankly didn't throw as much. There's just so much more throwing. And frankly, you double up when Josh Jacobs catches passes. So I don't think it's considered like a faux pas any longer.
You know what? I don't think this is actually even a Harris pick, but I'm zagging here. I'm going to go to a wide receiver that I actually think is going to be good this season, Rashee
He was
Rice.
legitimately my next receiver on my board. I've moved him up, actually. It's the Hollywood Brown injury like spooked me, and I was like, yeah, Rice is probably not getting suspended this year. I mean, I'm going to make the guess. And when you're taking him in the 7th round, you don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All right, it comes back to you. Love
Okay.
doesn't get back to you. So if you were waiting on Jordan Love, it didn't happen.
I was, and I mean, you've got 2 shots to take him before I do, so Tua will probably be gone. Okay, so something like this, where if there's a value player that you target, and I do this all the time, and I think, okay, well, so his ADP is 106, but I'd love him to get back to me, but I don't pick again until whatever 9th round, 8th pick is, which is after 106. So do I reach a little bit for a guy that I think is good that might not get back to me, at which point I'm no longer really getting the value of him falling to me in the 11th?
I don't think there's a definitive answer, and it's a great question. And Scott Pianowski and I had this conversation on the show Monday, which you're probably remembering. And Scott's recommendation was like more hard and fast as a rule than mine was. He was like, wait, just wait. You're a gambling person. This is how you get value in drafts. You have to be willing to lose. And I kind of do play it by ear a little bit. I think to myself, how much do I really want the player? How scared am I that the people after me are sharing a brain and we're having a lot of similar picks?
So I think Tua. Yeah.
I don't think it's not so bad.
Well,
it's perfectly fine. How many flag players can Harris wind up with? Let's find out. I'll take Chase Brown. His ADP really seems to be climbing. People seem to be figuring out that Zach Moss is maybe not the cat's pajamas, as they say. I would use more colorful language than that, but this is a family show.
Yeah, boy, Chase Brown is coming up a lot.
On the show, he definitely is. And well, it was still the 8th round, but like he was going in the 10th round previously. He might have gone later had you and I not been sharing the same ranks. But I'm not going to take a tight end, but I think I probably will take a quarterback. He's close enough in my overall ranks. I certainly have other running backs and wide receivers ahead of Brock Purdy, but I think on my board right now, he's the 7th highest remaining player, clearly. Maybe not clearly because a lot of teams have quarterbacks here, but not going to get back to me. So let's take Brock Purdy. Caleb Williams goes right after me, and then David Njoku, who I know you were itching to take. David Njoku, you couldn't wait to take David.
So my wife is from Cleveland. My brother-in-law is a Browns fan. I watch the Browns a lot, and I've taken David Njoku pretty much every year he's been in the league. I've picked him up off the waiver wire. I've had enough. Yeah.
Well, if you had him at like in the last 6 weeks of last year, you think he's just so amazing at football. When everything else fell to poo and Joe Flacco was quarterback. My God, David Njoku was a revelation.
See, again, right now, the not having gone through and crossed everybody off, I'm really flying by the seat of my pants. So,
well, you can ask me players because I can tell you.
So I feel like now I probably want to pick up a 4th running back if I can, and if there's somebody good there. When does Nick Chubb come back? Because he is my favorite player in the NFL. I love him so much. That's the Brown I'm never out on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's on the PUP list. He won't start the year. Clearly, we know that. If you look in the queue of default ranks, he's the next player. So if you don't take him, Team 9 will.
Maybe I will because.
I don't think it's a bad pick. He's within my next 10 for sure.
Okay, I definitely didn't want Zeke Elliott.
Right. Well, yeah, fair.
Now I'm stashing him for later.
You're stashing him and you're adding someone. Like in most leagues, you can put somebody on reserve and you're adding somebody, right? And so it's almost like a free pick of a replacement level player, but still you get your pick of a lot of different players. All right, so we're back to you again.
Yes.
You and I are still holdouts on not having taken a tight end. It looks like no other team has done that. We're in an absolute stare down.
I'm good.
Jacoby Myers, another flag player. How about that? So where are we? I've taken some receivers. I've taken some. I'm just never gonna love the tight ends, and I don't feel urgency. All these, a lot of the leagues that I wind up being in with humans in them, tight ends don't go like this. They just don't. The first few do, and everyone kind of does get into a staring contest. So the thing that keeps happening to me in these mock drafts of me waiting and then spending a late round pick and just saying I would figure it out. It doesn't always happen to me when it's humans, but yeah, against these robots, that is going to be what it's going to be. We'll just take another flag player. We'll back up Ken Walker. I wouldn't consider it a handcuff necessarily in the 10th round. And I know, again, Charbonnet's ADP is a lot lower than I just took him, but I think that's a mistake. I think he's good. I think it's funny and weird that people have decided so many teams are these, undefinable messes, the Commanders and the Titans and who do you take? I guess you take them side by side, but the Seahawks, they just go, yeah, it's Walker. Like, I think it's kind of the same thing. Anyway, I would recommend Charbonnet, even if you weren't the team that took Walker. I was the team that took Walker. How about a guy from last year? How about Khalil Herbert?
Perpetual flag player.
At least last year. And he was number one flag player last year. But here's the thing about Herbert. He wasn't going in 12-team drafts to start the go-round here, and he certainly should be now. We've seen enough preseason action and work a little when the ones are out there for the Bears, and Herbert is the early down back. Like, I don't know that that's definite, and I still would rank DeAndre Swift higher, but like, we're going to be surprised by some teams, and Herbert could be a beneficiary, at least of, he's on my bench. He's the 11th round pick, but I kind of like that pick.
So I think I'm going to do something here that I might regret.
Take a tight end?
No, God, no. But I think as much as I try to deny my birthright, I still want a piece. It's got to be somebody.
Rico Dowdle. Yeah, we are in dart throwing territory. I absolutely see that. There's this funny thing that happens in covering the NFL where there becomes this groupthink that everybody I talk to now says, well, the Cowboys will trade for someone. The starting running back of the Cowboys isn't on their roster yet. And I'm like, okay, I just haven't ever seen Jerry Jones spend money or feel aggressive very often, but okay, great. Like, it might not be, and it might be Rico Dowdle. Might be.
He's so cheap.
It's pretty cheap.
You know what? Just to make this the ultimate Harris team.
Taysom, the smiling goon, breaking my heart. I probably wasn't taking him there, but now I get to be the last one to take a tight end. I'll take another pup list guy, the guy I take every draft, because I do think Hawkinson should go in these very, very late rounds of these drafts. And then again, it's in most leagues where you have a reserve spot, it's a free waiver ad, and like, you get your choice of the entire pool that didn't get drafted, replacement level, but there are still going to be good players there. And of course, by week one, I'm going to have to cut somebody or, reserve Hawkinson and add somebody. And I won't feel awesome about it. But again, I know everybody feels like they know everything that's going to happen. And you're so stupid if you don't get one of the 6 tight ends or the 7 tight ends or whatever. I just don't agree. I feel like the ranks all shatter. Our mind palaces all shatter. And so I'm not worried too much about it. I've taken some injury guys. Well, I've taken one injury guy. You took Chubb, the other injury guy.
Yeah.
Does seem like I take Jonathan Brooks at the ends of drafts a fair amount when he lasts. So I'll take Jonathan Brooks and just see how that goes. Another guy who's going to start in the pup list. This is a very limpy team that I'm drafting. They're extremely limpy.
Malik Neighbors must be gone, right?
Oh yeah. He's
way gone.
He goes
early.
What, third round? Yeah, I think.
Oh,
late
geez.
Third round.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I keep forgetting how it works. I'm thinking maybe Jahan Dotson. I'm thinking, at this point, in my league, everybody takes a second quarterback, so it's almost like super flex.
A free square, yeah. Or you can take one and you get an extra bite at the cherry, as they say.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing where I'm like right now, Deshaun Watson is sitting on the board, and I know it's hard to stomach him as maybe a human being, but he has been. I once watched my brother-in-law take him in the first round of a draft. Yeah, but just okay. I'm not taking Deshaun Watson. Sorry, that's bad. I'll take Jahan Dotson.
Okay. And then I wondered whether you would consider, and I'll just ask you theoretically, because handcuffing running backs has really gone out of style. People say, don't do that. And there are some circumstances where I agree. And I actually kind of think Green Bay is one of those circumstances. Marshawn Lloyd has this theoretical upside, but he's basically missed all of training camp. And now A.J. Dillon has a stinger, and it just feels like a severe lack of clarity behind Jacobs. So you probably wouldn't have worried about it anyway. You wouldn't have been thinking, by golly, I need to have Josh Jacobs back up.
Because you're right, he left right. Well, if I had really had more time, like a regular draft, I might have.
By the same token, there is no guarantee. There's just that he might be cut by that team 9 by the time the season starts, and you might be able to grab him if you need him anyway.
That is facts. What about, just because he has been injured apparently before, is there someone else on the Philadelphia roster that a Saquon Barkley owner might want to?
It's another one where it's hard to recommend. It's really case by case. It's hard to recommend a handcuff. Kenny Gainwell has been the speed bump, as I like to call him on the show. The notorious in the way always. I can't imagine these two in the way of Barkley this year, but maybe a little. But they drafted Will Shipley, and those two are staging a battle, and it's at this point really tough to say I would definitely take either one. You could, if you took a stab on either one, I would probably take it on Shipley. Yeah. But I don't feel strongly about doing it.
I'm not going to. I'm going to take a name that I feel like comes up a lot as a sleeper pick. Ray Davis.
Sure.
Buffalo.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's, you just had what, 4 rookies in a row go: Kamani Vidal, and then Ray Davis, and then Tyrone Tracy, and then Braylon Allen, all of which you can absolutely justify as puzzle box unknown. Let's see. No idea what their teams think of them. No idea what their abilities are in the NFL, but why not in the late rounds? And, this is the 14th round, but of course, in a lot of drafts where you're drafting kicker and defense, there would be 16. So we're just kind of trimming those rounds off. So imagine this is like the last group that we're picking before we picked kickers and defenses. Who do I want here at the end? I have taken, I'm sort of the mind that Adam Thielen should get drafted.
I know. Well, I was going to say, are there any Patriots that are worth drafting?
Well, we could have done I think maybe Demario Douglas would have been not a terrible complete late round pick. I'd rather do Douglas in a PPR because I imagine he's the Patriots high volume slot guy, and he's very quick and just maybe not that much down the field. So I could imagine doing that. I do think Thielen maybe should be going in drafts though, because he's old. He's 33 now, and I get it. He catches 2-yard passes, but he caught a lot of them, and Deontay Johnson is there now, and there's a lot of reasons why I'll be cutting Thielen by week 3, no question. But what if it's the same? What if it's a bunch of nervous throws to Adam Thielen that everybody feasted on for freaking 2 months last year? I don't hate it at the end of a draft. All right, so let's take a retrospective look back. Listen, Rhett, we know, everybody knows this is, you're under duress. You're having to go much faster than you normally would. So this is good for experimental reasons, but we're not holding you to these picks. When you look back, do you have regrets? Do you have I'm really glad I did?
I've always, and it's probably because I started in 93. I grew up, just playing fantasy with a big running back emphasis. I've always loved a team anchored by a big, strong running back, and to get Saquon and Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, there's question marks abound, but still, they're great players.
Yeah. The theory du jour about wide receivers at all expense, to me, I can't tell you for sure that I'll always or ever, make myself do 3 running backs in the first 4 rounds, but it is 100% viable. People who are indoctrinated into the wide receivers at all costs will look at your receivers and go, oh my God, it's Nico Collins, Keenan Allen, Christian Kirk. Your receivers are terrible. And then they'll all go out and do 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns. And Barkley, Jacobs, and Mixon will combine for 23 goal line touchdowns, and you'll be fine. You're betting on good players having good seasons. And so I feel like it's just fine. And of course, I happen to agree with the players you picked, right? And so, but yeah, I think I look at it the same way. And in fact, it feels to me like receiver changes so much from year to year. And who knows, Rashee Rice can be you took him in the 7th round. He could be the wide receiver 9, like we just don't really know.
The year that we won with Travis Kelce as our tight end, we had a very cheap wide receiver by the name of Cooper Kupp.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
He was pretty good.
Just, I would say in general, people who enjoy mock drafts, and you can rag on us down in the comments and we can take it. We love you. It's completely fine that you wouldn't draft the way that I just drafted or the way that Rhett drafted, whatever. Just realize that you think and you've heard an echo chamber of people telling you the same thing for 2 months, and then we're going to get to the actual games and a lot of it's going to crumble. And we'll just see. I'd say for my purposes, do I love Devontae Adams as my wide receiver 1? I like it a little more than Nico Collins as your number 1, but we're making compromises here, Yeah. And to be honest, what I have found is kind of the reason I wanted to pick 5th was that I have found when it comes back around to me in the 2nd round, I don't love it. I'm not crazy. I like picking 8th more than like picking, because I like Barkley and Hall, they're the same to me. It's fine. I like Hall a little more, but they're roughly the same to me. And then you get to go with a wider array, a wider number of choices than when it gets to me in the 2nd round. I'm not as into it, but it was very fun. I hope you had fun, Rhett.
I had more fun even than I anticipated. I feel like I don't really know what I'm doing, and also it's a little silly that I'm such a child of the possum here. So you're great at what you do. I really appreciate all the sacrifices you've made for our fantasy edification.
Well, it's all worth it. I mean, I got to admit, I do consider myself the fantasy martyr. That should actually have been my show. I should have been called the fantasy martyr. I blew my branding. Thanks to Rhett for being here.
Yeah, that was my favorite line. MikeThomasHammy.com. There's a line in it that says, "Saint Christopher, eat my sin."
I know.
I'm more proud of that than anything in my 22 album catalog.
Songwriting catalog, fairly impressive catalog. I want to thank Rhett. I want to thank Dave Piper for producing, and also Dave laughing in our ear makes us feel good. So thank you for doing that. I want to thank AG1 for continuing to be a great sponsor of these mock drafts. Go to drinkag1.com/Harris if you'd like to try it out. If you have the means, if you think you want to try it. If you don't, we're just so happy to have you watching. It's great. And do leave us comments because we will read them and reply to them as needed. And it's fine if you want to rag on us. If you're like, what the heck are these guys doing? This is not like any draft I've ever seen. It's fine. We can take it. We read the comments. We see. It's fun. It's fine. We're so happy to have you. We're going to have certainly at least 1 more mock draft next week, maybe 2. We're still negotiating. We know you enjoy them, and we enjoy bringing them to you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button, write a comment, tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on, and of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.